Yeah, I mean, there's things on both ends of the floor. I think, from an offensive standpoint, just taking care of the basketball. Last couple of games, there's been the first half where we've had double figure turnovers. In the second half, we've taken care of the basketball. So I don't know how many practices we've had, but I would say over 90% of the practices, offensive emphasis of the day has been make the easy play, limit turnovers. So we've got to do a better job at that. I felt like our rim finishes got to be just better. I feel like we've gotten to the rim, whether it's been in transition off of drives, offensive rebounds, just not finishing well. And so, we're getting to the rim, but we've got to be stronger and better at finishing around the rim. And, that's one of the few games all year that we didn't shoot the ball well from the free throw line. And so, and then just defensively, I always talk to you guys about, my conversations with the team about, the discipline and the details, just defensively in terms of, technique on ball screens, box outs, talking on defense, contesting shots, scouting report, tendencies, and just the discipline and details. Those are things that need to be tightened up that consistently weren't tightened up in that game. But you just got to give credit to Georgia Tech for winning.
RJ and Armando said when you guys got back Tuesday night that there was a fairly long meeting in the locker room, and a lot of the focus was on sort of cutting the cord to that, moving forward, your thought process on Duke. How much a part of that meeting were you a part of, and how, if you were, how do you think that the meeting went?
I wasn't part of that meeting. We got back a little bit after 1 o'clock, and I came home and I watched the game over again and went to bed at 3:45. And so I wasn't part of that meeting. One of the things that I always do talk to the guys is that when there are moments of wind and rain and cloudy skies, you have a choice. You can stay down, you can point fingers, you can whine and complain and make excuses, or you can get back up and move forward and fight. For us, there's no choice. We get back up, move forward, and we join the fight. And I've always talked to them about the only thing that you really have control over is how you react and how you respond. And I know how this group will react, and I know how this group will respond starting with practice today.
Is them doing that an example of this group maybe just having a different layer than previously?
No, well, again, I don't. Those are your words about the biggest game of the year. Those are not my words. We don't. Our preparation and our practice is no different for this game compared to prior to the Georgia Tech game. We have 10 more games left in the regular season, and our approach is to prepare and to practice to the best of our ability and to put ourselves in a position to play our best. Just happens to be that we're playing Duke on Saturday.
Hubert, Duke had some bumps in the road earlier in the season. Obviously, they've been hit hard by injuries, but does it seem to you like they're hitting their stride now, past few games?
Well, I think, they've always been a very good basketball team. I mean, injuries are always a part of basketball, and I don't, with the exception of Indiana in '76 that went perfect, there's always bumps in the road. So, I mean, it is what it is. It's a very talented basketball team that obviously Filipowski, his ability to be able to score around the basket, draw fouls, get to the free throw line, and shoot from three, but also the spacing that they have. We've got four guys shooting over 40% from three, and so, they feel very confident and playing very well, but we feel confident also.
What do you remember from your time playing Duke as, when you were here?
Just the same memories of when I played Maryland, Virginia, Clemson, Florida State. Tough games, competitive games. Played them 3 times in the ACC final. Great matchups against unbelievable talent, but have the same memories of playing against NC State and Chris Corchiani and Rodney Monroe and Tom Gugliotta.
Hubert, you mentioned 1976 in Indiana. Like, is
I
that,
was 6 years old.
I know you're joking a little bit
Yeah.
there.
No.
But he really was 6. It was
Right.
I was 6, and that was the year that we won the Olympics, and my uncle was on the team, and I was in Montreal, and with Coach Ford and Mitch Kupchak, and
And you rode back with the gold medals.
yeah, so 76 was a pretty good year. That was a pretty good year.
Well, I was just saying, like, is that, I mean, is that an important lesson for now that, okay, you're not gonna go 20-0 in the ACC? Like, I mean, is that an important piece to just maybe mention or remind these guys it's okay that you lost an ACC game? Everything's, you know, not lost, is that?
No, I think it's always important to focus on what is real. I'm not a narrative guy. I think things have shifted to narratives, which is a little bit of truth and a little bit of falseness. I'm not, you know, it is what it is, and I focus on what is real. What is real is we're 17-4 with the most wins in the ACC total. What is real is we're 9-1. Currently, right now, we're in first place in ACC. What is real is we have 5 road wins in conference, the most of anybody in our conference. What is real is it was 41 days between our last losses. That is real. And it is real that our next 2 games are at home. Let's focus on what is real. And let's just pull up our shoes, tighten our belt, put on our overalls, and get back to work and see what happens.
Hubert, earlier
This
today,
is Elliott's first opportunity on the stage.
No, I don't think so. We played Tennessee. There's a pretty good crowd here.
I'm not specifically just Duke University, just to be clear.
No, I know that. I know what you're trying to say. I'm just saying that we've been on this stage before. We played UConn at the Garden. That stage was pretty good. Tennessee was pretty good. I mean, everywhere that we've played, the environment's been pretty good. I mean, you go to Georgia Tech on Tuesday, that environment was pretty good.
I was going somewhere else with it.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. I just then go.
I know, I'm slow. When you were recruiting him, he was your first point guard, I think, that you recruited as a head coach. What stood out about him, maybe some of those intangible things that really, you know, made you believe in him and made you want him to kind of be the guy?
Well, I don't know what your meaning of being the guy means. So
Like, you know, your point guard, he was the first point guard that you recruited.
well, we have a number of point guards. RJ's a point guard. Seth is a point guard. I want as many playmakers out there on the floor as possible. So we have a number of point guards and playmakers. But for Elliott, there's many things that I loved about him from the start. His toughness, his commitment to winning, how he celebrates the success of his teammates even more than his success. Obviously, his passing ability and his ability to be able to get to the rim and finish, make others better. He's always been about team, and that's something that I've always wanted in a player that just naturally puts team first, and that's what Elliott does every day.
earlier today, John Shire was talking very complimentary about you and kind of the similarities and how much respect that he has for you in that you both followed Hall of Fame coaches at really high-profile programs. Do you kind of feel a kinship with him? And have you guys kind of compared notes, like when you're at Amelia Island or one of those, as to what it's been like and what kind of challenges there are?
No, I do. I have tremendous respect for John. I was a huge fan of his as a player when I worked for ESPN. You know, I mean, he's continued that as a head coach. His ability to coach, but to connect with the players and pull out the best out of them on the court, you know, in the classroom, in the community is just what he's done in the first 2 years, which is absolutely fantastic. In regards to conversation and being able to spend time together to talk, you know, that's one of the things that I wish that us as coaches had time to do. We just don't have time to do that. And I just think it would be great where there was an environment where all of us can share stories and get to know each other and be able to spend time together. And but both of us have 3 kids. His are younger than mine, and but we got busy lives.
Coach, I'll be remiss if I don't ask you this question. You had to be about 4 or 5 years old, I'm thinking, as when your uncle made the bank shot in this game coming up.
Yeah.
Talk about that. He still talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
Whether or not he was aiming for the switch, but he ended up banking it in. Talk about that a little bit.
No, it's interesting. My dad only allowed me to go to one camp per summer. And so I couldn't, back then there wasn't AAU. And so the only camp that I picked was to come here to Coach Schmidt's basketball camp. And so every afternoon there would be a clinic by a former player. And every year it was my uncle, and they had him replay that shot. And I want to say 70% of the time he hit it. But I mean, that didn't surprise me. He's the best shooter that I've ever been around. I know people talk about Steph Curry, and he is, but I'm biased. My uncle was the best. I've just never seen anybody have a pull-up jumper like his. And so it doesn't surprise me that he hit it so many times in replay, trying to relive that moment that he sent the game into overtime.
Got time for a couple more.
Hubert, how have you seen Filipowski's game evolve this season, playing without Lively in the middle beside him and being the lone big on the fourth row?
Yeah, he's, just his ability on the offensive end as a 5 is just very difficult because he can handle the basketball. He's a point guard. I mean, his ability to be able to pass, he can get a rebound, advance the ball up the floor, and make plays. Anybody with that type of size, he's aggressive. He can draw fouls. He can shoot from 3. He can post up. He can put the ball on the floor. So it's hard to get the ball out of his hands, hard to double him because he can catch the ball and attack in so many different areas. And then on the defensive end, is just doing a really good job of, he leads his team in blocks, but he's also doing a terrific job of defending without fouling. And so, once again, he's one of the better players in the country, and he's having a terrific season, and he'll be a huge focal point for us on Saturday.
Hubert, you mentioned how you prepare for every game the same. How do you sort of square that with the obvious feelings that the players have and the allure of this rivalry? How do you sort of balance those two things?
Well, like our preparation, our practice, never changing it. Our practice today is at 2:45 on Thursdays, and it's always 2:45, and tomorrow will be 3:15, and it's always been 3:15, and we'll have a shoot around. And so just a routine and my message and the way that we practice, none of that changes. Obviously, there's other things that are different around this game, and you can't keep all of it away because of this. But I think focusing on what is real, which is our preparation and our practice, and also all the conversation that we've had in the past about turning down the noise from the phone, the family and the friends and the basketball fans, and focusing on what is real. That's something that I'm just not talking about this week. This is something that I've talked about the entire year. And so I think they understand where we're coming from and, what we need to do.
How does having game day here Saturday affect your team?
Doesn't affect us at all. Our shoot around would have been at the same time, pregame meal, same time. That's noise. And not in a bad way, but as I said before, the guys have asked me, what is the definition of noise? And I said, anything that doesn't help you become a better player, a better person, and a better teammate. And as wonderful it is to having ESPN Game Day here, I don't see it helping us box out and defend Filipowski. I don't see how that helps us make a 3 or a free throw. And so even though it's terrific, that's noise, and we just have to focus on what is real.
Thank you, Coach. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, I mean, they just been telling me how there's nothing they can really tell me to prepare me for the energy the crowd's going to bring, the energy that I'm going to feel from the fans and from the other team, and just to be ready.
Did you grow up watching? Do you have any memories of the rivalry?
I mean, obviously I grew up watching basketball, so every Duke UNC game I watched that. But actually, the only visit I took in high school to UNC was to the Duke UNC game. I was the one where think Trey Jones hit a buzzer beater, or Wendell Moore hit a buzzer beater, or something like that to win. Yeah, both of them hit a buzzer beater to win the game, and I was here for that one.
The weird uniform.
Because the overtime and then the game winner, right? Okay.
Harrison, what was the big rivalry at Stanford, and why was it that way?
What was the rivalry for Stanford?
What was the game, and why was it a rivalry like that?
It was Stanford versus Cal, and it was just a rivalry. I'm not quite sure the history behind it, but I just know they're close to each other, so I think they just hated each other or something like that.
Was that pretty intense? I know football's got more notoriety, they had the band game and all that other stuff, but basketball was pretty intense.
It actually was. I mean, the fan turnout obviously wasn't as big there as it is at UNC, but for the Cal game, it was always packed, whether it was at Stanford or at Cal, it was definitely packed. But I don't think any game, any sport could match the UNC Duke game.
What has been imparted on you this week about what to expect and what it's like?
I mean, just the energy from the coaches, from our director of basketball operations, Hoots. Every time he sees me, he tells me like, I better be ready to be a grown man, and the fans, the stuff they're gonna say to me, and stuff I've never heard. I'm like, all right, that's cool, but there's the energy that everyone has going into this game. I mean, we're ready.
Harrison, because you did come here and did consider coming here out of high school, like when Duke and UNC played in the Final Four a couple years ago, were you pulling for the Tar Heels there? Did you have a rooting interest? Like, how did you? That was such an epic game. How did you view that one?
I mean, I didn't really have a fan. I mean, growing up, I was neutral. I was more of like a Texas fan and more pro sports fan than college. So watching the Duke UNC game in the Final Four, I didn't really have a team I wanted to win. I kind of just wanted to see a good game, and in the Final Four, they gave us a good game.
So when you were deliberating your decision after entering the portal, did the opportunity to play in this game and be on this unique stage have anything to do with your decision making?
Not necessarily this exact game, but the stage of being at UNC. I mean, playing on ESPN almost every night. Obviously, the Duke game is a big game, but it kind of being at UNC, every game is a big game every night. You're kind of getting everybody's best shot. But knowing I'm playing this UNC Duke game on national television, it's one of the biggest games of the year every year. I mean, I just can't be beat.
Well, staying on that, kind of curious because all the games you guys have played on the road, except I think were full, they were all sellouts. Close to being a sellout. How different is that experience being on the road wearing this uniform as opposed to what you experienced on the road at Stanford?
I mean, it's amazing. I mean, it can't be beat. I mean, the fans that go out there. I mean, you're there an hour before a game. It's almost fully packed. A lot of UNC fans are there. I mean, every game I've been to, especially at Boston College, we were there. We got there like an hour and a half before the game we're shooting, and there's probably like 300 UNC fans in there just cheering our names, all there for 90 minutes before a game, and just seeing the commitment from the fans to travel and to show love is amazing.
Harrison, I'm sure you're familiar with the game-changing moments for players that happen in this rivalry game. What's an area of your game right now that you feel like can contribute to a special moment on Saturday for your game?
I feel like the special thing about my game is that I'm not quite sure which one it will be. Kind of just whatever the game calls for. If I have to rebound, I rebound. If I have to knock down threes, play defense. I mean, whatever the game calls for, I feel like I'll show up.
You talked about your sister. Has the trash talk between you two increased at all this week?
It began last week. Actually, it began last night when she was making fun of me for losing our first game in a while. No, she didn't. I wasn't happy, but she thought it was hilarious. And she's gonna be in here. She'll be wearing a Carolina shirt though. She'll be cheering for us, and that'll be nice.
Harrison, I wanted to ask you about the defense. You guys are ranked, I think, 4th in KenPom defensive efficiency. One thing specifically I wanted to ask you about was 3-point defense. You guys are holding teams about, I think it's 29%, 30%. What are you guys doing well to maybe run teams off the arc or contest shots? Because that's always a tricky thing, trying to cover so much ground on the perimeter.
I feel like it's how hard we play. I feel like when you play hard, you can make up for your mistakes, whether it's a missed coverage, missed assignment, or anything like that. When you play hard, you make up for your mistakes. And I feel like we get out the shooters, and we also protect the paint. And I feel like that kind of lacked in our last game against Georgia Tech. We weren't playing as hard, so the little mistakes we would make, we weren't making up for them.
How much of it is just trying to get them to? Is it as simple as get a hand up and contest? Is it trying to run them off the shot? What, in your estimation, is like the biggest thing to accomplish in those situations, in those moments, trying to defend a 3?
I think the biggest thing is knowing personnel and kind of being able to realize who you're closing out to. If it's a shooter, if it's a non-shooter. I mean, if it's a shooter, close out short with energy, but always having a high hand, because these are D1 basketball players, and whether they are considered a shooter, quote unquote, or not a shooter, they can make open shots.
You mentioned obviously, having your first loss in a while. I guess kind of with that, how much have you kind of observed that, kind of fueling some of the energy going into Saturday it's going to be a rivalry, going to be kind of a emotional type game?
I mean, obviously it sucks to lose. No one wants to lose, but I feel like we kind of put the chip back on our shoulder and give us a more of a bigger chip to just come in today, have a great practice, go hard. I mean, I know coaches are going to be amped up energy. It's going to be a really intense, competitive practice, and it's coming into this game just knowing that we just lost our previous game and we don't want to lose 2 in a row.
And then obviously, kind of going off that, I know a lot of, during this season, you guys are very, game by game, opponent by opponent. But I guess in this week in particular, like, have you noticed any type of, you mentioned, some with the energy, but I guess some of the dialogue you've had with guys, like, have you kind of noticed some differences there?
Not quite. I mean, I definitely notice how energetic everybody is. I mean, everybody's going to sleep early, getting their 8 hours, 9 hours, getting up, getting their shots up. I mean, we had 2 lifts today, one at 8 a.m., and a lot of guys show up to 8 a.m. lift just to kind of just show that they're locked in.
Harrison, this is the 3rd year in a row that both Duke and UNC have gotten transfer from the same school. Are you and Neil friends? I mean, do you chat? Have you chatted at all this week?
Yes, sir. Me, Neil, and I think they call it a GA, Daniel Begovic, were also all pretty cool. Us 3 and Cormac, we all know each other.
Yeah. So, I mean, have you guys talked at all this week? Like, have you stayed in touch throughout the course of the season? That cuts off now? Or?
We cut off last week. I mean, they texted us. They asked us to get Daniel and Neil asked us to get dinner. We were gonna get dinner, but it just didn't work out. And just kind of from then on, we're like, the next 2 weeks we can't talk. I mean, we're not cool. Like if I see him on the court, I'll say hi after the game, but before the game, I don't know.
Was Georgia Tech more the product of maybe fatigue from playing a couple of road games in a row, maybe complacency, or was there some other factors that kind of contributed to that?
I'm not sure exactly what it was, but I do know we didn't come with the same energy that we came with every other game. We weren't playing with a chip on our shoulder. I feel like we were up early, and that's when we got complacent, kind of thinking, we went up 11 in the first 10 minutes. We thought it was gonna be an easy game, and those are good. Those are good teams, good basketball players. I mean, they fought and they earned the win.
What are the challenges for you defensively, whether it be Filipowski, Mitchell? What are the challenges that Philip you?
I mean, this Duke as a team they're all a bunch of talented players, and as a team, they're pretty hard to guard. So whether I'm guarding Mitchell or on the perimeter guarding the guards or guarding Filipowski, just having a scouting report and realizing that they're all good players. And that sometimes, like with good players, you might play great defense and just make the shot.
In what ways have you seen Elliott grow up in the past couple weeks, especially with his scoring and maybe being more aggressive, perhaps being more comfortable? But what have you seen in terms of his development?
Definitely his aggression and his confidence. I mean, we see what he can do in practice every day, especially whenever we were in the preseason. He would be on the other team with me. I mean, he would knock down threes. He would come off screens, throw the craziest passes you've ever seen, finish every layup, and just seeing him kind of translate what he does in practice every single day and watching him do it on the court is amazing. And it opens up everything for our team, just knowing we have a guy who can get to the paint at will. I mean, there's nobody can stop him getting the paint. Just letting me get wide open, step in threes, tip in layups, just putbacks and little easy shots like that.
You've at least been around college basketball for a while. What do you think it's going to be like for him on Saturday, like his first taste of this stage?
See, I don't even know how it's going to be for me, so I couldn't really speak for him.
But at least the sport for a while. Like,
Right.
It's going to be like for someone who's just totally.
Right. I think it's definitely going to be an adjustment to seeing the fans' energy for me and him, but for him personally, kind of having a big game. I mean, we've been at UNC. We have a lot of games at ESPN, a lot of national televised games. I mean, we played a lot of really, really good teams early, so it's not too big of an adjustment.
Harrison, we've talked about the rebounding a lot, obviously, but when you were going through the transfer process and you were studying places you might consider and you got into studying UNC, could you have ever imagined that here in February you'd be leading the ACC in rebounding? Would that have shocked you if someone had told you that back then?
Not shocked me. It's actually one of the main topics that me and Coach Davis talked about when he came to my house. Offensive rebounding, I knew, especially in high school, I was pretty good offensive rebounder. And at Stanford, I was pretty good offensive rebounder there too. It wasn't as good as I was here, but I knew it was a big thing. And I kind of wanted to know that if I came here, would I have the opportunity and the ability to crash offensive boards? And he was like, yes, 100%. I mean, it just worked out perfectly.
A couple of weeks ago, when Armando was asked about your rebounding, he said that he should take some of the credit because he's sort of occupying other people. It's giving you more opportunities to get some of those rebounds. He kind of likened it to a nose tackle using up 2 blockers so the linebacker can make a play. How has he helped you in that rebounding process, and how much truth is there to what he was saying?
100%. There's truth. Armando's Armando, the best rebounder in Carolina history. I mean, especially on the offensive end, there's always have so much attention to him, trying to box him out and not let him get the rebound. I come flying in, and I'm just getting tip-ins and kind of keeping the ball alive. And then on the defensive end, he's blocking out the big 7-footers who can jump out the gym, and I'm coming in to clean up the rebounds. And really for him to give him another shout-out, he's doing so much for us offensively that doesn't really show up on the stat sheet. I mean, we're getting so many layups, literally just wide open practice layups because he's stealing the big man and just causing so much attention.
I was gonna ask you about that, because the stat sheet numbers have been down with him, but Hubert was saying last week, there's so many other things he's doing that don't show up there, that he's doing at a much higher level than he had previously before. Aside from what you just said, what are some of those other things?
I think he's being a great leader, keeping everybody accountable every day in practice. I mean, even before the Georgia Tech game, he was talking about how this can't be a game we got complacent. I mean, we still did lose, but he was talking about how he knows what it's like to have a quote-unquote trap game and kind of be complacent before the game. And, you know, he's just doing a lot of stuff for the win. I mean, we're winning games, and I feel like he's a big part of it.
Has he shown any concern at all about his numbers being down and the fact that you are dominating in the rebounding department? Pretty much what he's done like the past few years here or whatever. Has he shown any concern about that with his individual game?
I mean, not really. Armando's a very unselfish guy. I mean, every once in a while he'll like send me a text to stop stealing his rebounds or something like that. But in general, no, he's just all about winning. I mean, he came back here, he's trying to win a national championship.
Hubert likes to say, we're not just a North Carolina or Mono Baycott rebounding team, we're a North Carolina rebounding team. Should he amend that and say we're not just a Harrison Ingram rebounding team, we're a North Carolina rebounding team?
I think so, but that's up to him. I'm just gonna just try to just do my job.
You mentioned that you obviously watched a lot of UNC Duke games. Arnold Baycott has played in quite a few of those. What kind of, I guess, if you remember, kind of stood out about some of those performances that he had in some of those games that you were watching?
You know, I can't really speak to a specific performance he had, but I know that he's always one of those players that just shows up in the big game, and when the moment comes, I mean, he wants the ball, and he's always ready to go.
Kind of like a mainstay type dude.
Right, 100%. I feel like any game where, it's an ESPN game, UNC Duke or Kentucky, or, I mean, you name the big schools, Armando's going to show up.
Speaking of ready to go, he is ready to go out in the hall, so
Yeah.
maybe like one or two more for Harrison.
Was that the family group chat that your sister was getting in, or is that just like a one-on-one type thing when she was messaging you?
Well, she FaceTimed me, and she was just smiling. And I was like, why are you smiling? And she was like, you lost? And I was like, oh, my goodness.
What a greeting.
Yeah.
Wednesday then?
This was the morning after we lost. So when did we play? Tuesday. That'd be yesterday.
Everybody good?
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, it's tough to talk about defense after last game, just being what happened. But overall for the season, I think us as a team have been doing a great job of trusting each other. And for me, I think I've been doing a good job of really just trying to be an anchor, defending the rim, being good in pick and roll coverage. And it's been a lot of fun. I see the stuff about us being like a top 3, top 5 defense. We want to get to number 1.
Mondo, you've been here for a really interesting kind of period in this rivalry. I mean, you guys have been up, they've been up. Last year you guys played, you weren't, neither one was ranked. Now they're both in the top 10. Have you had time, or could you reflect a little on where you kind of fit into this history of this rivalry, and what does that mean to you?
I definitely think I've kind of edged myself in the history of this rivalry just throughout the years, everything that has happened. But this is an atypical year for me. I think for Duke and UNC in the last few years, because none of us have been ranked this high going into the rivalry, like on both sides. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Armando, what's some of your favorite memories playing against Duke, just as a player, and then also just the rivalry itself? What are some standout moments?
My junior year, that was a lot of fun. My sophomore year, that was a lot of fun. Freshman year was not fun. Senior year was not fun.
What do you remember about, like, your first time going into this particular stage? And I ask that because your point guard has never experienced this before. Elliot is new to it. So how do you help him with that? But what do you remember about the emotions and maybe the pressure and what that was like?
Did we play at Duke my freshman year first time or here?
It was here.
Oh, that was terrible. The first time, I can remember being on the bench. It was like 2-3 minutes left, and me being immature, me and CK, like, man, it's going to be a fun time. Like, we ready to beat them. We're going to storm Franklin. And they came back and won. That was terrible. That was an awful experience. Then we went over there, and I can remember Cassius Stanley getting that breakaway dunk, and just how crazy it was. Like, the crowd erupted, and that was terrible too. But I think for Elliot, it's really tough to tell a freshman what to expect going into this game. But it's definitely great that we're playing them at home for the first game for sure.
Do you prefer winning here or there?
I would say here because it gives us more time to have fun after.
I don't know if it was a pregame moment or an in-game moment, but what was, in whatever year it was, what was kind of a moment for you that was kind of like, okay, I'm here, this is UNC Duke, this is what it's like. What was kind of your first moment where you realized like you were there?
My junior year. My sophomore year was COVID, so it was tough to do a lot of things, and we couldn't really experience it. But when in my junior year, it was a lot of fun, and we got to storm Franklin and be outside and really experience all the other stuff that comes with it.
You and RJ and Jeremy Roach are all Virginia guys, and you've all been here a long time. Do you guys have any kind of relationship away from the court, and how does that dynamic work? And I guess what kind of respect do you have for each other because of the fact you've been linked so closely?
I've been on the same team with Jeremy since he was in the 6th grade, I was in the 7th grade. We played AAU all the way up, and Jeremy's a great player, and I love playing against him, and he always has a great game against us, so I need him to play bad. But me, RJ, and Jeremy, we all got the same managers, so we do a lot of things together. We talk a lot all the time, but we haven't really talked this month. Well, the month just started, but since January. This year. We haven't talked this year. Well, I haven't heard from Jeremy this year. We all know what's at stake coming up, and we definitely want to take it to him.
Hubert was talking last week about a lot of the things you're doing at a very high level that is away from the stat sheet, that really show up there. What are some of those things that you have made a concerted effort to do at that level that also might enhance your prospects to make it at the next level?
Yeah, this year, RJ, he's been scoring the ball great. I think he's been the best player in the country, and it's helped my game a lot too, just being able to be a vessel for him and set great screens for him and do like the little things that don't show up in the stat sheets, creating space, making great reads. And I think for me at the next level, I'll probably never really get plays called for me. So being able to work on those things now has been great for me, and I'm just so excited for RJ's success because when you look from his freshman year to now, he's always kind of taken a back seat to me and Caleb, and he's waited his turn. And just for him to springboard like this, I mean, he deserves it, and I wouldn't want it for no other player.
How much of a mental adjustment was that for you, and how long did that process take to kind of let RJ be the score-first guy and you kind of be comfortable doing those secondary things?
I knew going into this year that's what would really happen just because RJ he was the only guard in our backcourt that was a scoring guard, and I think last year was tough with just him and Caleb. And you look at Caleb at Arizona, he's been doing an amazing job, and he's a top 2-3 guard in the country. So I knew a lot of sets and kind of how Coach Davis has been wanting to play for all these years. I knew this year that's kind of would come out because obviously we had a lot of guys that Coach Davis didn't recruit and things like that the last few years. This is the first year where Coach Davis truly had the full team that he's wanted. And I mean, you see how the offense has been and how the defense has been. It's been working.
You've had highly productive games, and recently the scoring hasn't as much been there. Has that just been more circumstantial of how the games have gone, or is there maybe something else that's at play there as well?
I think it has been a mix. I think I definitely can be more aggressive on the offensive end and finding other ways to score, but a lot of it has been circumstantial too, just how teams defend me and things. We really got a team this year where we just take whatever they give us and we keep it simple, and I think that's what's been helping us.
Harrison talks about you telling the guys that Georgia Tech might be a trap game. What did you kind of sense about that moment, and then kind of where you feeling, premonitions going into this week as well?
The way Georgia Tech played, I mean, they got a lot of guards that can score. They're really good in the pick and roll too. I mean, their point guard, freshman point guard, he's similar to Elliott to where he knows how to be patient and make great reads. And he did it all night, and they hit shots, and going and playing in Georgia is tough, and the crowd were in it, stirred event. He played amazing. So it was tough, and I mean, they lost their best player and still beat us. So it was definitely a trap game. I think we didn't come in there with that killer instinct. We were up 11 early, and I think we thought it would be smooth sailing, and they kept playing. But it was great for us too because it allowed us to have some sort of like feeling of how we need to play and what we need to do, and let us know like we're human.
I'm under the last year they had Derek Lively, obviously, doing great in the NBA now. How does Duke look differently with Kyle Filipowski at center? What are the advantages and disadvantages of that matchup for you?
It's definitely a different team. I thought Derek Lively guarded me better than any player I played really in college because he had such a high motor and obviously was so athletic. And, I mean, he was stronger than what I thought, too. I mean, I thought last year he was their best player. Another guy that didn't show up on the stat sheet, really. You look at his stats and you might didn't think he was doing as good. But, I mean, you see now in the NBA, too, just the way he affected the rim defensively, it was going over there. He probably had like 20 block shots. It was crazy. It was crazy. But this year, I think Duke is a different team. I think the way they score the ball is great. They got a lot of great guards, a lot of young guards. McCain and Foster playing at a high level, and I see Proctor. He's back to playing great. Filipowski, he's been one of the best bigs in the country. I think the game will really be won between me and him, whoever gets in foul trouble first, really.
Armando, going back to what it was either Brendan or Beard were asking you about the ups and downs in this rivalry. Like when you think about Duke, like where does your mind go? Does it go to like beating Coach K in the farewell, the Final Four game, or does it go to the bad stuff, like the things that didn't work out? Do you think good or bad when you think?
It's like a mix, but playing Duke every time is always different because Duke always has a different team, and you never know which way to go, really. Duke could be playing bad and come and play us and play amazing, or vice versa. So you really don't know what you're going to get until you get out there.
Armando, you said obviously, I guess when you first got here, that the feeling of playing Duke obviously never gets old. I guess for you personally, what kind of keeps it fresh? I mean, I know obviously it's the rivalry, but what kind of keeps it fresh?
Just wanting to win. I know how much it means to the fans, to us, to the former players, and it gives you bragging rights until the next time you play them. So it's one of those things where you just want to win, and you grow up watching the rivalry, and every time you play in it, it just seems like it gets bigger and bigger, and more stuff is at stake.
So growing up watching it, what are some of the key plays that kind of stood out to you? Some of the moments that stood out?
The Austin Rivers shot was pretty crazy. I remember Tatum dunking on Kennedy Meeks. That was pretty crazy. Coming to UNC, watching us beat them I think it was my senior year of high school when Garrison got the big dunk, and that was electric, and that was one of the best moments I've had at the Dean Dome. So it's been so many great moments, and I think that's what makes the rivalry so great.
You should have seen Steve's face when you.
Making her sick over here.
You should have seen Steve's face when you mentioned.
Give you a list of our plans.
Armando, what's it like for you knowing this is actually it for you in this game at the Smith Center?
I got to win it. Got to go out on top. Want to be able to beat Duke 2, maybe 3 times this year. So that's really all it is to it.
Does it seem like there's more talk during the game when you're playing Duke than any other team? Tell me about the talk that happens every time you guys play.
Definitely, it's going to be a lot of trash talk, and we all fired up and adrenaline pumping, and we all just want to win at the end of the day. So both teams be willing to do whatever it takes.
Mondo, I want to go back to Harrison and how you talked about how you kind of sacrificed your game and it's like helped other teammates or whatever and their games thrive. Going back to Harrison, his numbers are crazy, especially on the rebounding end. And you talked about how you texted him, telling him to stop stealing his rebounds and stuff like that. How does it feel for you to like see him thriving in that department, but at the same time sacrificing your game and the possible negative impact that it'll have on you for your future of basketball beyond North Carolina?
Yeah, I don't think it'll have that much of an effect on my future just being because, I mean, people that really watch the game, they see what happens, and I think what Harry's been doing has been great for the team because we've out-rebounded the teams, I think, did we out-rebound them last game? 11 straight games in a row, and that's really made a huge difference for us, and it's just been great.
Mondo, you said that you never really know what you're going to get in this rivalry. Is that a good thing? Does that help you all?
I don't necessarily know. I mean, I would like to go into the game knowing what to expect, but it definitely makes it a lot of fun. And like I said, it makes this rivalry what it is.
What have you seen from just this group overall coming out of the game in Atlanta? And I mean, obviously that wasn't a great night when you guys were leaving the place. And just what do you feel like has been your reaction? I guess you guys were off yesterday probably. Just, you know, what are the vibes like after that? You hadn't gotten beaten in like, I think 45 days.
Wow. It was tough. We stayed in the locker room once we got back for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, just like talking about the game and what we could have did better. But we know we got to just flush it in the toilet and prepare for the game on Saturday because we're playing a totally different team and it's going to be a different atmosphere.
Were there any differences on the plane ride back or after the game, something like that?
Excuse me?
Were there any differences on the plane ride back, maybe compared from obviously the road games that you would won?
It was somewhat tough, because we definitely should have won that game, and we felt like we just left so much on the table, and we wanted to keep the streak going, but we kind of just soaked it all in on Tuesday, and now we just moved on.
What was the conversation when you got back in the locker room?
Really just talking about some of the things we could have did better, but also we was like, dang, they hit a lot of crazy shots, and yeah, and we looked back at the last play and thought it was kind of tough.
Okay.
But we don't want to make excuses. We just want to just move forward.
So what time did you guys leave?
Last one.
Got back around 12, probably left 1:45 too.
Thank you.
Appreciate y'all.
I probably couldn't share with you guys, but he's definitely said like I could have settled for I had the 3 briefly, or kind of cross over to my right, kind of get to the right, but yeah, that's what he said.
Otherwise, that play kind of worked exactly the way it was designed.
Yeah, it definitely did. I mean, Coach Fred and the rest of the coach staff did a good job, and that's something that we practiced multiple times, and definitely worked out in our favor.
Armando told us that you guys met in the locker room when you got back.
Mhm.
He said you left around 1:45 in the morning. What was all that about in the locker room? How'd that go?
Just conversations just about like the whole game, and it's obviously a game that you didn't want to lose, but at the same time just to not overreact and stay composed and keep our composure leading up into this game, and because at the same time it's a lot of our teammates first time playing in this UNC Duke rivalry game, so it'll be really brand new. Just the overall energy and the environment that's leading up into this game, but at the same time just kind of just treat it like it's the next games because it's the next game on the schedule, and not get too caught up into social media and people DMing you saying that you have to win this game, and just kind of just ignore all of that and just focus on the next game and lean up our preparation.
So to follow up on that, it's been a while since you guys lost, but that's not typical that you guys would do that. A lot of this was because yesterday was an off day, and just to kind of get everyone on the same page going into this game.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, also because it was a tough loss and on the road. I mean, they're not easy games to win, and we just got back, kind of just sat with our thoughts and just talked about the whole game, really, just to see what worked and how can we improve leading up into Duke Saturday.
Who was doing most of the talking?
It was all of us. There wasn't like just one person talking and rambling. Everyone had shared their thoughts.
Was it organic, or did someone say, we're going to sit here and talk?
Nah, it was just naturally, just like naturally, like conversation just happened and we were just talking.
RJ, speaking on like having a bunch of new guys who have not experienced this, what have you tried to share with Elliott, especially in his role as point guard, freshman, what to expect and all that?
I'll probably have a talk with him today just to just go out there and just be Elliott. He's a supreme talent. He's been playing really well for us this year. So just go out there and just play your game. Don't get too caught up in the rivalry game. Just go out and be Elliott, because that's what we need from him, and I think he'll play really well for us. And the way he's been playing, his aggressiveness, his playmaking, even his defense has been working for us. So.
Do you remember what it was like for you, like your first game and maybe the nerves?
Yeah, I definitely had a lot of nerves. But I mean, mine was kind of different because it was COVID, so like nobody was in the stands. But it's still on national TV, and it's UNC versus Duke, so just a little nerves. But that's what I remember for it.
As one of the older guys, what's some of your favorite moments from your time playing here against Duke?
Definitely the one at Coach K's last game in the Final Four. Those are the ones I can, I obviously cherish and remember for forever, just because of, leading up into the game and people doubting us and whatnot. And it was just super fun, just the overall environment, the energy. I mean, those, and now I think the Final Four game was the most watched in history. So that's one of the things I'll remember.
How exciting is it for your final time playing against Duke and the Dean Smith Center is another top 10 matchup?
I mean, it's been great. I think anytime you play Duke, it's going to be a good game, and because it's the best rivalry in college basketball. And for being a senior here and playing at the Smith Center, I think it'll be special.
Between the coach COVID, the Coach K circus, the Final Four. Now it's both in the top 10. Have you given any thought at all to your place in this rivalry? Because you've seen an awful lot, more than a lot of players have in this rivalry.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really thought about, my place and my experience. For me, it's just as, just go out there and just, treat it like it's a game. I mean, obviously I know the historical background to the games and, the rivalry has been going on for years, but at the same time, just try not to get myself too excited for the game and just kind of just stay in the moment, stay poised, and just, doing what I've been doing.
RJ, defensively, you guys rank among the national leaders in defensive efficiency with KenPom, higher than the program has ranked in many years. I'm curious, how much do you think is it, the roster is different, so you have some different personnel like with Cormac and Harrison coming in. How much of it is maybe mentality or approach? Kind of, what do you think is the reason that you guys have taken such a step up defensively on the season?
I mean, I think we took ownership in it. And Coach Davis always said that, we'll be more than fine and on the offense, but it's our defense that's going to set us apart. And I think we really took ownership in that. These past couple of games in our winning streak, we was really doing a good job of, containing the ball, being the help side, turning teams over. So little stuff like that, I think that's what's going to help us win. And, sometimes when your offense doesn't work, you can also rely on your defense. And we've been doing a great job of just, also trusting each other. I think early in the season, we weren't really worried about, we were worried more about our man rather than being on the help side. And we're doing a better job of doing that, communicating, talking. So I think that just comes with experience and maturity.
RJ, in all of the UNC games that you played in, you played with Armando Bacot. Obviously, you played in a couple before you got here.
Yeah.
What do you kind of observe from him, in those games and when it is that UNC do play? What kind of, is there anything kind of that's different, when he approaches that game and plays in it?
I mean, I think every time we play him, it's always like around his birthday, so he's always hyped for that. But he's been doing a good job of just, anytime I see him playing against Duke, his leadership really stands out. He's vocal, leads by example, and he does a good job of just being aggressive and making his presence felt in the paint, and I'm looking forward to him doing that on Saturday.
And then, I guess, what do you remember? I know it was probably obviously it was a couple years ago at this point, but what do you remember about when you guys played in Cameron? He had that dunk at the end that sealed it. You guys went up 10. What do you remember about that sequence?
Yeah, I mean, I was super hyped for him, just for him to end the game like that. And then I think that picture also went viral too. So that was a great way to end the game. So.
RJ, this is going to be his last time playing here. Finally. Have you thought at all about what it means? I mean, obviously, I know you have COVID if you want it. Have you thought at all about this being your last time against them in the Swiss Army?
I haven't. And actually, it hasn't even hit me yet. I think I've just been doing a good job of just staying in the moment and worrying about this year rather than what the future may look like. So I mean, that really haven't hit me yet. So I'm just gonna enjoy my senior year and just come out with this win.
A couple of non-stat things about Armando that Coach talked about, Harrison brought up a little earlier, is he's so much better at setting screens now. You guys are going to get more off those screens. I know you have that screen assist stat. And also, he's kind of dragging big out lanes, so they're more driving lanes. Can you kind of elaborate on how much better he is at those two things now and how you're able to play off that better than maybe before?
Yeah, I mean, I think Coach May has been doing a good job of just watching film with Mondo and working with him to how to angle his screens a little bit better. And he's been doing a great job for me and Ellie to get downhill on the baskets or be able to settle for an open jump shot. And credit to him because most of our baskets come from his screens. So, but just his impact, not just from his screening, but his also defense. I think that's not getting talked about a lot. His defense has been phenomenal this year. Especially when we switch because we switch a lot. When he's able to guard our smaller guards and get stops, blocks. He's been doing a great job of doing all the little things for us, and he's the reason why we've been winning.
RJ, Hubert has said a lot this year how he's showed you guys the clip of Kevin Garnett talking about defense news with the Celtics. Has he ever showed you guys old UNC Duke clips from when he was playing or even before that, just to give you guys the scope of the rivalry at all?
Nah. I think we all just know. We've seen a lot of clips, from previous years. pretty sure everyone watched us in the Final Four. So, and it's not too much to get Coach Davis fired up for this game. So.
RJ, what were, coming out of Georgia Tech, what bothered you the most? Or what were some of the things that you didn't like that happened to you guys or that you guys did?
It was just simple game planning mistakes that we've practiced, and we went over. I think we could have done a better job of, our ball screen coverages weren't that great. Turnovers in the first half, but it was one possession away. If we had made 2 more free throws, we probably would have won that game. So just like little stuff like that, but we just got to key in on little things like that, and do a better job of knowing our game plans, knowing personnel and whatnot.
The month of January was a pretty good run for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
What did you guys learn that you can kind of carry over to the rest of the season?
Just always, stay where your feet are and be where your feet are, and trust each other. I think we did a better job of doing that this year, especially in the January run where we were relying on ourselves, but at the same time our teammates to be in the right positions, offensively and defensively. So, but at the same time, just go out there and have fun. I think we're playing with joy, and we're playing Carolina basketball, so that's what makes everything good.
RJ, you've done a couple of NIL things with Jeremy Roach.
Mm-hmm.
You play against him for years now. Like,
Yeah.
Do you guys have much of a relationship, or what is that sort of like? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's not often that there are 2 sort of senior guards who
Yeah.
have gone through it together.
I mean, I knew Roach since we were like in 5th grade, so we've been always matching up. It was like Gauchos versus Team Takeover since we were little. I knew Roach then, but we have a good relationship, and whenever we face up with each other, I think we just put that to the side and just go out there and hoop.
Beyond that relationship you have with Roach, how do you like this matchup with your guards against their guards compared to past years of this rivalry?
I mean, I think for our guards, I think this is gonna be a great matchup from both sides. Duke is a really talented team. They have really good guards that can make shots and get downhill. And our guards, we do the same as well. So I think we match up really well, and I'm looking forward to it.
Couple more, we'll get Hubert in here.
RJ, you mentioned that you don't need anything else to get Coach Davis fired up. And 2 years ago, he said, we're looking for a fight. Like, have you already started to notice it from him this week, like the extra intensity or anything?
I haven't yet because we just played Georgia Tech, and then Coach Davis is always about one game at a time. So I'll probably see it today in practice. And I'll let you guys know how that went.
Along those lines, does anyone get more fired up than Hoops? Just like Harrison was talking about him,
Yeah.
like running kind of high.
Mhm.
Like, what is there anyone else?
No, Hoots gets like everyone fired up. Like he came into the locker room this morning when we lifted. Just fired up, just yelling, just coming in the locker room, just yelling, like, y'all ready? And that's Hoots for you. So I'm always gonna rely on him for the energy.
With Kyle Filipowski, obviously, it's not someone you're going to be, matched up against, but, he's, doing a lot of what he was doing last season. Just what kind of added, dynamic does he kind of give that team on both ends of the floor?
Yeah, I mean, he's really strong in the post, and he does a good job of just using his pivots and being able to score over guys, and he can stretch the floor. So, he's a really talented player, and, it'll be a good matchup for us and see where we're at defensively.
Do y'all have any responsibilities for, like, game day when they come here and broadcast? Will you guys be, like, I don't know, on the show, doing anything fun or silly?
That I don't know yet.
Okay.
But I'm assuming that might be out there. So.
Have you sensed, like, this is the first top 10 one since before you were
Say it again. I'm sorry.
This is the first time you're up in the top 10 since before you were here.
Yeah.
Do you get a different sense of anticipation?
No, I think the energy will remain the same. Despite if we're a top 10 or both teams are unranked, I think that game will always be the same.